It's 2 a.m. You're not sick. You're not in danger. Nothing is actually wrong. But your mind is running a trial, and you're the defendant, the prosecutor, and somehow also the jury. You've been locked in this room before. You know every corner of it. And yet here you are again. This video is about the lock. And more importantly, where the key actually is. The architecture of the trap. Let's start with something nobody tells you about overthinking. It's not a thinking problem. I know. That sounds wrong. But stay with me. Overthinking isn't what happens when your brain works too hard. It's what happens when your brain works too hard on the wrong thing. Specifically, on problems it was never designed to solve through thinking alone. Your brain has one primary directive: keep you alive. That's it. Everything else is secondary. And when it detects uncertainty about a relationship, a decision, a conversation you had 3 days ago, it treats that uncertainty like a threat, like a predator in the grass. So it does what it does best. It runs scenarios. It plans. It rehearses. The problem is that uncertainty about whether your coworker was passive-aggressive in that email is not a lion. And no amount of mental rehearsal makes the lion go away, because there is no lion. There's just your brain, stuck in a loop it can't exit, burning through your night, your focus, your peace, trying to solve a feeling by thinking harder about it. And here's where it gets almost cruel. Every time you engage with the loop, every time you pick up the thread and follow it, you teach your brain that the thread is real. You reinforce the neural pathway. You make the room smaller. You're not solving. You're renovating your own prison. What's actually happening? So what is overthinking, really, if it's not a thinking problem? It's a regulation problem. Specifically, it's what happens when the body is in a state of low-grade threat activation and the mind gets handed the job of calming it down. Here's a way to feel this rather than just understand it. Think of a time you were completely absorbed in something physical, running, cooking, building something with your hands. In that state, did the obsessive thought loop show up? Almost never. Not because the problem was solved, but because your nervous system had something real to process. It didn't need to manufacture a threat. The loop isn't where overthinking lives. The body is where it lives. This is why meditation alone sometimes makes overthinkers worse. You sit down, close your eyes, and hand the brain an empty room. For some people, that's peace. For overthinkers, that's an invitation. And this is why people who just think positive don't fix it. You can't think your way out of a physiological state. That's like trying to convince your heart to beat slower by making a logical argument. But there's something even more uncomfortable underneath all of this. Most chronic overthinkers aren't just anxious. They're attached to the loop. That sounds harsh. But hear me out. The loop feels like control. While you're mentally rehearsing every possible outcome, you feel like you're doing something. You feel like if you just think hard enough, long enough, you'll find the answer that makes you finally feel safe. The loop is a deal you made with your anxiety. I'll keep thinking if you keep the worst thing from happening. The problem is anxiety always collects on that deal. And the worst thing almost never comes. The mechanism of exit. Okay, so how do you actually get out? Not with affirmations. Not with a journal prompt that asks you to challenge your negative thoughts. That's like trying to drain a bathtub while the faucet is still running. The exit is physical first, cognitive second. The most well-researched intervention for breaking a rumination loop isn't therapy or mindfulness, it's movement. Specifically, bilateral movement. Walking, especially. The left-right alternation of your feet activates both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously, which disrupts the localized, repetitive firing pattern that produces the loop. You literally walk yourself out of the thought. But here's the part that changes how you use this. It only works if you don't try to solve anything while you're doing it. The walk isn't for processing. It's for resetting. There's a difference. Now, once the nervous system has downregulated, there's a second move that most people never make. Name the function of the thought. Not the content, the function. Not, I keep thinking about whether I said the wrong thing, but my brain is trying to protect me from social rejection. Label the job it's doing, not the story it's telling. This small shift does something remarkable. It creates distance. You're no longer inside the thought. You're looking at it. And things you can look at, you can also choose to set down. The third move, and this is the one that creates lasting change, is tolerance training. Most people try to eliminate uncertainty. They want the answer, the resolution, the confirmation. But the loop feeds on the attempt to eliminate uncertainty. The more you chase certainty, the more the brain flags the situation as genuinely dangerous. The real work is learning to sit with not knowing, to let the unanswered question exist without treating it as an emergency. This is not passive. It's one of the hardest things a human nervous system can do. But it is the deeper truth. Here's what I really want to say. Overthinking is not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's not you being neurotic or dramatic or broken. It is, almost always, what intelligence looks like when it hasn't yet learned that some problems aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be outgrown. The people who overthink most tend to be people who care deeply about getting it right, about other people's experience of them, about not making the mistake that ruins everything. That caring is not the problem. That caring is, in most cases, one of the best things about them. The prison wasn't built out of stupidity. It was built out of love that didn't know where to go. So it turned inward and started circling. And knowing that changes something. Because you can't hate yourself out of a pattern you built to protect yourself. You have to be curious about it instead, patient with it, and slowly, deliberately, you have to show your brain, through repetition and evidence, that it can let go, that the uncertainty won't kill you, that the quiet, when you finally let it come, is not emptiness. It's space. Space you haven't had in a long time. So tonight, when the loop starts, and it might, don't fight it. Don't grab the thread. Don't follow it down. Instead, get up. Walk. Bilateral motion, no agenda. Let your body do what your mind is failing to do alone. And when you sit back down, ask yourself just one question. What is this thought trying to protect me from? You don't have to answer it. You just have to stop mistaking it for the truth. The door to that room was never locked from the outside. If this reached something in you, save it. You'll want to come back to it. See you in the next one.